They told us to track our steps,
monitor our sleep,
measure our heart rate, log our food,
scan our brains.
all in the name of wellness. Hey, this is Charlie, and the question is, what if the apps, the wearables, the biohacking trend, that entire obsession with optimization has nothing to do with health? What if self-care has become the most seductive form of surveillance?
Roger, Charlie, we're ready to rock.
Here's the uncomfortable truth. At Next Health, a single IV drip treatment with 750 milligrams of NAD costs 1,500 smackers. 2 minutes in its cryotherapy chamber costs $45. We're not just paying for wellness. We are paying to be monitored.
Oh my God.
Like, comment, and subscribe.
So picture this. Tech executives who built empires on harvesting your data are now paying $8,000 for transfusions of plasma from someone between the ages of 16 to 25. Literal blood from the young to extend their lives. The same people who convinced you to share every thought on social media are now obsessed with sharing their bloodstream with teenagers. But here is what is deliciously ironic about Silicon Valley's biohacking obsession. Bulletproof founder Dave Asprey created a human upgrade center where for around $500 a month, you can try an array of gadgets instead of working out. These are the masterminds of optimization culture, and their ultimate hack is avoiding exercise. It's like watching vampires discover they're allergic to garlic. The Romans had their bread and circuses. We have our step counts and sleep scores.
Good morning, my good sir. Would you like a cup of tea?
Now, it does get culturally fascinating and deeply twisted. You see, yoga, meditation, fasting, breath work, these weren't originally products. They were rebellions. They presented yoga as a tool for enhancing physical health, which aligned perfectly with the American ethos of self-improvement and the capitalist drive for marketable, consumable wellness products. But in ancient India, yoga practitioners were renunciates who abandoned material possessions. Today, $1 million listing star Frederick Eklund says his millionaire clientele are spending big bucks to do popular wellness trends at home. We've turned spiritual liberation into luxury real estate features. But here's the part that no one actually talks about. When wellness movements get absorbed by capitalism, they don't just lose their soul, they become instruments of control. The core privacy and human rights issues with tech wearables have to do with the quantity and the nature of the data that users surrender to their device, and therefore to the company that makes and operates it and commercializes the data it collects. For example, your Apple Watch knows when you're about to have a panic attack before you do. Your sleep tracker knows you're depressed before your therapist does, and your fitness app knows you're pregnant before you've told your partner. This is not wellness. It's the most intimate surveillance program ever deployed. Commercial wearable health devices do not fall under FDA oversight, and data not paired with a doctor-patient relationship do not fall under HIPAA privacy protection. Thus, much of the generated health-related metrics are left without regulation and open to be sold. Translation: your heartbreak is for sale. Quite literally. So now let's talk about what this does to your brain. While access to detailed information about one's health and performance can be empowering, it can also lead to data overload and analysis paralysis. Think about it. Humans survived 200,000 years without knowing their resting heart rate variability. Now, we can't even function without checking our readiness score. We've transformed a simple act of waking up into a performance review. In Japan, there's a concept called forest bathing, Shinrin Yoku, where you literally just exist among trees. No measurement, no tracking, no optimization, just being, for the love of God. Can you imagine Silicon Valley trying to monetize that? Tree tech. Monitor your bark engagement levels.
Aw, so cute.
While Americans are obsessing over their sleep scores, the Okinawans, who actually live longer than anyone else, have a concept called, well, ikigai. We've talked about this over and over again. It's your reason for being. Notice what is missing in that. Metrics, data, and optimization protocols. The Hunza people of Pakistan, well, they're famous for their longevity, and they don't track their steps. They climb mountains to get water. They don't monitor their heart rate. They sing while they work, and their biohack? Community, purpose, and laughing at people who would pay $45 for 2 minutes in a freezing chamber. But that's not scalable now, is it? So you can't package community into a $400 a month membership, can you? Or are we?
Please verify you are a human. I'll wait.
Now, here's what Harvard professor Shoshana Zuboff calls surveillance capitalism, the extraction of human experience as free raw material for prediction products. Your biohacking data is not helping you. It's training algorithms to predict and influence human behavior. Insurance companies are already using fitness tracker data to adjust premiums. Employers are monitoring productivity through wellness apps. And dating apps? Well, that's integrating health data to kind of optimize your matches. The wellness industrial complex isn't making you healthier. It's just making you more profitable.
Oh, did you see that?
The widespread adoption of consumer wearable devices has enabled continuous biometric data collection at an unprecedented scale, raising important questions about data privacy, security, and user rights. Translation: we've voluntarily turned ourselves into walking data points, and we're calling it self-care. The biohacking community sells itself on taking control of your biology. But when was the last time you felt less anxious about your health after getting more data about it? When did knowing your exact cortisol levels make you less stressed? The tragic irony is that the promise of control through data actually creates more dependency. You stop trusting your body's signals and start trusting the algorithm's interpretation of your body's signals. Get it? So it's like your grandmother knew when she was tired, but today you kind of need a nap to tell you if you're ready for the day. I mean, So what's the alternative? Well, I'm not suggesting that you throw your fitness tracker in the ocean. I'm just saying it's about understanding what wellness actually meant before it became a product. You see, true wellness was never about optimization. It was actually about acceptance, not performance, but presence, and not data, but wisdom. The ancient Greeks had a term, watch me stumble this one, eudaimonia, meaning basically human flourishing. Notice what's not in that definition: metrics, KPIs, quarterly self-improvement goals. So here's your uncomfortable truth for the week. Every time you check your step count, you're participating in one of the largest behavior modification experiments in human history. And the researchers aren't publishing their findings, they're actually selling them. The question isn't whether you should stop tracking your health. The question is, who benefits more from your wellness data? You or the companies collecting it? So let's go on to talk a little bit about numbers. You see, Google paid $2.1 billion for Fitbit, not for the plastic wristbands, but for the intimate biometric data of almost 30 million people. They weren't buying a fitness company. They were buying a surveillance network disguised as self-care. Google's own VP admits their goal.
Technology is at its best when it can fade into the background, assisting you throughout your day whenever you need it.
Translation? We want to be so embedded in your life that you even forget that we're there. It's like a benevolent parasite. But here's where it gets beautifully dystopian. The EU approved this acquisition with a 10-year ban on using health data for ads, because apparently surveillance is fine as long as you don't show people ads about their own depression for a decade. Meanwhile, John Hancock offers you an Apple Watch for $25 if you hit certain fitness targets and promises up to 15% off your life insurance premiums. It's voluntary, they say, except when everyone else gets discounts and you don't. How voluntary is it really? The more points you accumulate through tracking, the higher your status rises from bronze to platinum, turning your cardiovascular health into a frequent flyer program. This isn't insurance, it's behavioral modification with extra steps. So now, the combination of Fitbit's health data with Google's other data creates unique opportunities for discrimination and exploitation of consumers in healthcare, health insurance, and other sensitive areas. Your morning jog is not just exercise, it's evidence. Your sleepless nights aren't just insomnia, they're liability assessments. Michel Foucault saw this coming in the 1970s, decades before the first Fitbit. He called it biopolitics, when power stops being something imposed on you and becomes something you impose on yourself. Foucault described how
perpetual surveillance is internalized by individuals to produce the kind of self-awareness that defines the modern subject.
And friends, we've turned that internalized surveillance into a subscription service. Think about it. No government agent forces you to count your steps. You want to hit 10,000, but there's no actual true study on that. No corporate overlord makes you track your REM cycles. You feel guilty when you don't. You've become your own warden, and you're paying monthly for that privilege. The dopamine hit when your watch buzzes with achievement badges is not self-care. It is classical conditioning. You're not building healthy habits. You're training yourself to crave external validation for basic human activities like walking, moving, and sleeping. Recent health policy renders patients increasingly responsible for managing their health via digital technology, creating underlying tensions between empowerment and self-discipline. Now, the word empowerment is doing some seriously heavy lifting. When you can't trust your own hunger signals because an app tells you when to eat, that, honey, is not empowerment. That's digital dependency. So I hope you've noticed by now, we're talking about people that are relying on digital everything in extremes. But now here's the part that would make Foucault chuckle very, very, very darkly. We're not just policing our bodies. We're reporting our findings to headquarters every 30 seconds. Like what? All right, now let's talk about the language. Cleanse.
Purify?
Transcend your limits, unlock your potential. This is not medical terminology. It is borrowed from religious discourse. Biohacking culture has turned self-improvement into a secular salvation project, complete with its own prophets, Davis Bray, and the holy texts of Tim Ferriss's 4-hour series, and sacraments of bulletproof coffee. The ancient practice of fasting, a spiritual discipline about humility and surrender, has become called intermittent fasting or metabolic optimization. Meditation, traditionally about accepting impermanence, has become mindfulness for cognitive enhancement. Prayer has become biofeedback training. We have taken every human spiritual impulse and turned it into a productivity hack. But here's my existential question. When every part of life becomes optimized, what in a world happens to mystery, to intuition, to the beautiful, unmeasurable experience of simply being human, y'all? The Sufi poet Rumi wrote,
"Let yourself be silently drawn by the strange pull of what you really love. It will not lead you astray."
Can you imagine trying to quantify that strange pull? Track it? Optimize it? The algorithm would suggest you are off target.
Good job. I am so proud of you.
So now, the question remains, are we actually healthier than previous generations, or are we just more anxiously informed about every micro deviation from optimal? Your great-grandmother didn't know her heart rate variability, and she lived to 92. You know yours down to the millisecond, and you're having panic attacks about whether 65 BPM is better than 67. We have confused data with wisdom, metrics with health, optimization with happiness, and the more we measure, the more anxious we have become about the measurements. It is surveillance disguised as self-care, creating the problems it actually claims to solve. And the tragic irony, the constant monitoring designed to make us feel in control actually makes us feel more out of control than ever.
Are you crazy? Me?
So I'm leaving you with this provocation, the one that might make you reconsider everything. What if the most radical act of wellness isn't tracking anything at all? So basically, what if true health looks like trusting your own body's signals instead of an app's interpretation of them? What if the deepest form of self-care is refusing to turn yourself into a data point? The ancients had a very different definition of the good life, one that had nothing to do with numbers and everything to do with virtue, connection, and meaning. There were no metrics required. Your body is not a machine to be optimized. It's not a data source to be mined. It's not a performance to be tracked and freaked out from. It is the only vehicle you'll ever have for experiencing this strange, unmeasurable thing called being alive. It is time for us to pull the rug out from under everything we've just discussed. Because biohacking, you need to understand, it gets to a point where it's not about freedom. It never was. It's about feeling a machine that requires constant human input to function. And that machine is the attention economy, the data economy, and the anxiety economy. I'm going to tell you something that no wellness guru wants to admit. People do not actually fear death anymore. Yep, check out the studies. They actually fear more being unproductive while they're alive. That's the real market biohacking serves. Think about it. When someone says they're optimizing for longevity, what they really mean is optimizing for productive longevity. More years, sure, but more years of hitting targets, crushing goals, and staying competitive. We've turned mortality into a productivity problem. The biohacking industry has successfully convinced an entire generation that their natural state, their unmonitored, untracked, unoptimized human experience is fundamentally inadequate. In the self-improvement and biohacking crowds, people often turn their entire lives into work, all in the name of getting better and living forever, until every meal and shower and even sleep becomes something to excel at for a future goal. Your body has become your startup. And like most startups, it's under constant pressure to show growth metrics to invisible investors. Now, here is where we begin. Some people are catching on. Fitness trackers can encourage users to become obsessive and lose connection to their bodies. A growing number of people, i.e., moi, are ditching their wearables entirely, choosing what researchers are calling unquantified living. They're discovering something different. While counting steps with a pedometer increased steps taken throughout the day, we have to admit to that. It did, however, decrease the enjoyment people derived from walking. So basically, we just traded joy for data. And now we want joy back. Some are now sleeping without tracking it, eating without logging it, and moving without measuring it. They're treating their bodies not as optimization projects, but as homes worth inhabiting without constant surveillance. The most subversive act in our data-obsessed culture is trusting yourself without proof. We know enough. So here we are at the end of our little expedition into the surveillance state of self-care. Well, you've learned that your wellness routine might be less about wellness and more about data extraction. Your optimization might be someone else's profit optimization. Your self-care might be the most sophisticated form of self-surveillance ever invented.
Don't forget to like and subscribe.
But this natural breath you just heard, That's the sound your body makes when it's not being monitored, measured, or monetized. That's the sound of being human without an app telling you how well you're doing it. The wellness industry told you to listen to your body, but really, it only wanted your data. Now here's the beautiful irony. If you're ready, understand this.
Like, comment, and subscribe.
The more we measure ourselves, the more we remember what can't be measured. Love, laughter, the satisfaction of a good conversation, the peace of watching clouds without photographing them for social media. Your body already knows how to heal, how to rest, and how to move with joy. It knew before the first app was coded, before the first step was counted, and before the first heartbeat was monitored for profit. So the question is, maybe true self-care begins where the numbers stop. And maybe that's where real freedom starts too. Trust the heartbeat that's been keeping you alive since before you even ever knew what a heart rate was.
This is the most unusual practice. Rethink what you think you know with Charlie.
Until next time, stay curious, stay human, stay balanced, and give yourself a break.
Ta-da! Mom, somebody just followed me.